The candles exploded at the same time. Not with fire. With darkness. The room turned black like someone poured ink over the walls. The air felt heavy. The temperature dropped so fast that my breath came out like smoke. Then the voice spoke. "You asked for me." The circle we had drawn on the floor began to move. The black powder inside it started sliding like it was alive. The shadows on the walls stretched long and thin, twisting like fingers. And then Ethan started floating. His eyes rolled back. His mouth opened wide, but the scream that came out did not sound like him. It sounded old. It sounded angry. That was the moment I knew we had made a terrible mistake with black magic. And something had answered. But what had we really called into my basement that night? Let me tell you how it started. It all began as a joke. I live in a small town in Ohio. My name is Daniel. I was 17 when this happened. My best friend was Ethan, and our friend group included Sarah and Tyler. We were bored most of the time. Nothing exciting ever happened in our town. One night, Sarah found an old book at a yard sale. It was thick, with no title on the cover. The pages were yellow and smelled like dust. "Look what I found," she said, placing it on my kitchen table. Tyler laughed. "What is that?" "A spell book." Sarah smiled. "Maybe." Ethan flipped it open. The pages were filled with strange symbols and drawings. Some looked like circles with lines through them. Some looked like faces with no eyes. "Probably fake," Ethan said. I remember laughing. We should have stopped there. But we didn't. A few pages had English words. They talked about calling spirits for answers. It said you could ask for knowledge. For power. For secrets. All you needed was a circle, black candles, and something personal from the person asking. Tyler said, "Let's try it." Sarah looked nervous. "It says this is serious." Ethan grinned. "It's just a game." I wish it had been. We decided to do it in my basement. My parents were out of town that weekend. The basement was unfinished. Concrete walls. One small window. One light hanging from the ceiling. We drew the circle with black chalk we bought from a craft store. It wasn't real magic chalk. Just normal chalk. We thought that made it safe. We placed 5 black candles around the circle. Ethan said he wanted to try first. He had been stressed about college and grades. He said if this worked, maybe he could get answers about his future. The book said the person asking must sit inside the circle and hold something personal. Ethan used his old baseball glove. We turned off the lights. The basement glowed only from the candles. Sarah read the words from the book. They were simple but strange. They asked for something unseen to come forward. At first, nothing happened. Tyler smirked. "Told you." Then the air changed. It felt thick. Heavy. Like before a thunderstorm. The candles flickered, even though there was no wind. Ethan stopped smiling. "Guys," he said softly, "I feel weird." The basement light flickered once. Twice. Then turned off completely. The candles burned darker. Not brighter. Darker. The flame turned blue. And that's when Ethan started floating. But before that moment, before the candles exploded and before the voice spoke, there were small signs we ignored. The book had warned about something. It said never break the circle. It said never leave the person alone. It said never answer when it calls your name. We didn't take it seriously. After the basement went dark, I ran forward. I didn't think. I stepped into the circle. The chalk line smudged under my shoe. The second my foot crossed it, Ethan dropped to the floor. The candles went out. Everything was silent. We turned the basement light back on. Ethan lay there, breathing hard. "What just happened?" Sarah whispered. Ethan sat up slowly. "I saw something," he said. "What?" I asked. He looked at me, but his eyes didn't seem focused. It said I opened the door. We laughed nervously. Tyler said, "See? Just your imagination." We cleaned up the candles. We erased the circle. We put the book away. We tried to forget. But things didn't stop. That night, I woke up at 3:13 a.m. I didn't know why. My room was dark. But I felt like someone was standing near my bed, watching me. I didn't move. I just listened. Then I heard breathing. Slow. Deep. Right beside me. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Nothing was there. But my bedroom door was open. I always close it before sleeping. The next day at school, Ethan looked different. He was quiet. Pale. Did you sleep? I asked him. He shook his head. It keeps talking, he said. Who? He swallowed. The thing. I felt cold. Sarah said she heard scratching on her walls at night. Tyler said his TV turned on by itself at 3:13 a.m. We all pretended it was stress. Or imagination. Until the real signs started. Ethan stopped coming to school. He wouldn't answer calls. Finally, I went to his house. His mom said he was in his room. When I walked in, the air smelled strange. Like burned paper. Ethan sat on his bed, staring at the wall. On the wall were symbols. Drawn in black marker. The same symbols from the book. Ethan. I said softly. He didn't look at me. It says the circle wasn't finished, he whispered. What? It says you broke it. My heart dropped. I was trying to help you. He finally turned to look at me. His eyes were darker. Not black. But deeper. Like there were shadows behind them. It says now it belongs to all of us. I stepped back. What does that mean? Ethan smiled slowly. It means the door is open. At that moment, the lights in his room flickered. The door behind me slammed shut. The black marker on the wall began to drip. Like it was fresh paint. But Ethan hadn't moved. He was still sitting on the bed. Smiling. Then he said something that made my blood freeze. It wants to meet you properly this time. The room temperature dropped fast. The shadows in the corners of his room began to stretch. And behind me, I heard that same voice from the basement. You asked for me. The closet door slowly creaked open. And something inside began to move. The closet door opened slowly. It did not swing open fast. It moved inch by inch. The light in Ethan's room flickered again. The air felt thick, like it was hard to breathe. My ears started ringing. Inside the closet, it was darker than it should have been. Not normal dark. It looked deep. Like it had no end. Ethan was still smiling on the bed. You see it now, right? He whispered. I don't see anything, I said, but my voice shook. The darkness inside the closet began to move. It twisted like smoke, but thicker. Heavier. It stretched upward until it touched the ceiling. Then I heard footsteps. But nothing stepped out. The shape slowly formed into something tall and thin. It had long arms that bent the wrong way. Its head was tilted to one side like it was studying me. There were no eyes. But I felt it looking at me. I tried to open the bedroom door. It wouldn't move. The voice came again. You broke the circle. The walls began to shake softly. The symbols behind Ethan seemed to crawl across the paint. Ethan stood up slowly. He did not blink. It says we need to finish what we started. The tall shadow moved closer to him. I yelled, Ethan, run. But he didn't move. The shadow leaned close to his ear. And Ethan nodded. Then suddenly everything stopped. The shadow pulled back into the closet like smoke being sucked away. The door slammed shut. The lights stopped flickering. The room was quiet again. Ethan blinked. He looked confused. Daniel, he said. Why are you here? I stared at him. You don't remember. He looked around his room. He saw the symbols on the wall. His face turned pale. What did I do? I didn't know what to say. We cleaned the walls together. We used soap and water, but the black marks would not fully disappear. Faint shapes stayed behind, like stains. Ethan's mom knocked and asked if everything was okay. We both said yes. But we both knew it wasn't. That night, I told Sarah and Tyler everything. Tyler stopped laughing after that. Sarah started crying. We have to fix it, she said. We have to close whatever we opened. We brought the book back to my house. This time, none of us were smiling. We flipped through the pages more carefully. Near the back, we found something we hadn't seen before. It said, if the circle is broken, the spirit will attach to the weakest mind. To close the door, the circle must be completed again. All who were present must return. All who were present. My stomach dropped. What if it doesn't want to leave? Tyler asked quietly. The basement suddenly made a loud thump. All four of us froze. We hadn't even gone downstairs yet. Another thump. Like something hit the wall. Slowly, we walked to the basement door. I didn't want to open it. But I did. The basement light was already on. None of us had turned it on. At the center of the floor was a circle. Drawn perfectly. In black. Not chalk. Not marker. Something darker. Something wet. Ethan stepped back. I didn't do that. None of us had. The 5 candles were sitting around the circle. Standing upright. Unlit. But there was no wax under them. Like they had just appeared. The air smelled like burned paper again. The book in Sarah's hands suddenly flipped open by itself. The pages turned fast until they stopped at the same spell we had read the first night. The candles lit at the same time. Blue flames. Tyler shouted, "We didn't light them." The basement door slammed shut behind us. The light hanging from the ceiling began to swing. The voice filled the room again. "Finish it." The circle on the floor began to glow faintly. Ethan grabbed my arm. "It wants us inside." "No," Sarah said quickly. "The book says all who were present must return." We looked at each other. We understood. We had to step inside together. All 4 of us. Slowly, shaking, we stepped into the circle. The moment the last of us crossed the line, the flames grew taller. The basement felt colder than ice. The shadow rose from the center of the circle this time. It was bigger. Stronger. Its shape twisted like it didn't fit in this world. The voice was louder. "You opened the door. Now choose." "Choose what?" I shouted. But instead of answering me, it turned toward Ethan. The shadow wrapped around him like smoke. Ethan gasped and fell to his knees. "Stop!" Sarah screamed. Tyler tried to pull Ethan out of the circle. The second his hand touched the black line, he screamed. His skin turned red where it touched the floor, like it was burned by something freezing cold. We were trapped. The book suddenly rose from Sarah's hands and floated in the air. The page changed. New words appeared. It said, "1 must stay. 3 may leave." My heart started pounding so hard I thought I would pass out. "That's not fair." Sarah cried. The shadow's head tilted again. "Balance," the voice whispered. Ethan looked up at me. He looked scared again. Not possessed. Just scared. "Daniel," he said weakly. "It's my fault." "No," I said quickly. "We all did it." The shadow tightened around him. He gasped for air. "Choose," the voice repeated. The candles began to melt fast, even though the flames were blue and cold. The circle started shrinking slowly. If it closed completely, I knew something worse would happen. Tyler looked at me. Sarah was crying. Ethan was shaking. I made a decision. I stepped forward. "I'll stay." The shadow paused. Sarah grabbed my arm. "No." But I stepped closer to the center. "If one must stay, it can be me." The voice grew quiet. The shadow loosened slightly from Ethan. But then the book flipped another page. More words appeared. It said, "The willing sacrifice must be alone." The circle shrank again. Sarah and Tyler were pushed toward the edge like an invisible force was moving them. Ethan collapsed, gasping. The shadow turned toward me fully now. It felt heavier than before. It felt angry. "You would trade places?" it asked. My voice shook, but I nodded. "Yes." The basement walls began to crack softly. The air screamed like wind in a tunnel. The candles exploded again into darkness. And the circle split open beneath my feet. I began to fall. Not down into the basement floor, but into something deeper. Something endless. As I fell, I heard Sarah screaming my name. I heard Ethan shouting. And then I heard the voice one last time before everything went black. You cannot leave once you enter. And the ground disappeared beneath me completely. I was falling. But I was not falling through air. It felt like I was sinking through cold water that had no bottom. There was no light. No sound. No floor. My arms moved, but I could not feel them. My body felt slow, like it did not belong to me anymore. Then I hit something. Hard. I gasped and opened my eyes. I was standing in the basement. But it was not my basement. The walls were taller. The air was darker. The single light bulb above me was swinging back and forth, even though there was no wind. The circle was still on the floor. But this time, I was alone inside it. The candles were black now. Melted all the way down. The voice came from everywhere. You chose. I swallowed. Yes. The air felt heavy, pressing against my chest. You think you are brave, the voice said. But you made a mistake. The shadow rose slowly from the floor in front of me. It was taller than before. Wider. Its arms reached almost to the ceiling. I wanted to run. But my feet would not move. What do you want? I asked. Silence. Then the basement around me began to change. The walls faded. The floor cracked. The light bulb burst, sending tiny sparks into the air. Suddenly, I was not in the basement anymore. I was in my bedroom. But it looked wrong. The window was boarded up. The door was gone. The mirror on my wall was cracked from top to bottom. I walked to the mirror. My reflection was not moving the same way I was. When I raised my hand, it stayed still. When I blinked, it kept staring. Then it smiled. Slowly. I stepped back. That's not me, I whispered. The reflection pressed its hands against the inside of the glass. The shadow's voice echoed again. This is where you stay. The reflection began pushing harder. Cracks spread across the mirror like spiderwebs. Let me out, it whispered in my own voice. I shook my head. No. The glass exploded outward. But instead of shards cutting me, they froze in the air. Time felt slow. The reflection stepped out of the mirror and stood in front of me. It looked exactly like me. But its eyes were darker. Empty. You gave yourself willingly, it said calmly. So I can wear you. My heart dropped. No. It tilted its head. They will not know the difference. The world flickered. Suddenly I saw Sarah, Tyler, and Ethan standing in my real basement. The circle was gone. The candles were gone. I was gone. They were hugging each other, crying. Sarah kept saying my name. Tyler looked pale. Ethan looked guilty. I'm sorry, Ethan whispered. Then I saw something worse. I saw myself. Standing behind them. Smiling. My body. But not me. The thing in the mirror laughed softly. They left, it said. And you stayed. I ran toward the image of my friends. But the floor beneath me turned into black smoke. I fell again. This time, I landed in a long hallway. It stretched forever in both directions. Doors lined each side. Every door had a name carved into it. I walked closer. I saw Sarah's name. Tyler's name. Ethan's name. Then I saw mine. Daniel. The door with my name was slightly open. From inside, I heard whispering. I slowly pushed it open. Inside the room was my house. Everything looked normal. My mom was in the kitchen. The TV was on. It looked like a regular day. Then I saw myself walk down the stairs. The fake me. My mom smiled at it. Hey honey, she said. The fake me smiled back. I tried to scream. I tried to warn her. But no sound came out. The shadow's voice spoke again behind me. You thought sacrifice meant escape. I turned around. The shadow filled the hallway now. It stretched across the ceiling and walls. There is no escape. Only exchange. What do you mean? I asked. It moved closer. You stay. It lives. My chest felt tight. So I'm trapped here forever. The shadow leaned down close to my face. Until another door opens. I looked down the endless hallway. How? It pointed with one long arm toward the distance. Far away, I saw a faint light. Another circle. Another group of kids. Another mistake. Fear filled me. You mean, someone else has to do what we did? The shadow did not answer. But I understood. If someone else opened the circle and broke it, the door would open again. And maybe I could leave. But that would mean someone else would take my place. Just like I took Ethan's. The hallway lights flickered. Suddenly I heard Sarah's voice echo through the space. Daniel. I froze. The voice came again. Daniel, if you can hear me, we're trying. The hallway shook. The doors rattled. I ran toward the sound. The light at the end of the hallway grew brighter. I could see them now. Sarah, Tyler, and Ethan were back in the basement. They had the book again. They were standing in a new circle. No! I shouted. Stop! But they couldn't hear me. Ethan's voice shook. If we open it again, maybe we can bring him back. Sarah nodded. We have to try. Tyler looked terrified. What if it takes one of us? They all went quiet. Then Sarah said softly, he would have done it for us. They joined hands. The candles lit again. The hallway around me began to crack like glass. The shadow appeared behind me once more. Another mistake, it whispered. I ran toward the light as fast as I could. The door with my name slammed shut behind me. The hallway began collapsing. The shadow grabbed at me with long, cold arms. I reached out toward the bright circle where my friend stood. The air tore open between us like paper ripping. I could see their scared faces clearly now. Daniel! Sarah screamed. The circle under them began to glow brighter than before. The shadow tightened around my chest. If they finish, it growled, the exchange becomes permanent. The light grew blinding. I felt myself being pulled in two directions at once. One toward my friends. One toward the darkness. The book in Sarah's hands burst into flames. The basement ceiling cracked. Ethan fell to his knees. Tyler tried to pull Sarah away. But the circle locked them in place. The shadow roared. The hallway shattered completely. I felt my fingers brush against Sarah's hand through the tear in the air. For 1 second, I thought I was free. Then the shadow screamed something I could not understand. The light exploded. Everything went silent. And when I opened my eyes, I was standing in the basement again. But I was not alone. Across from me, inside a brand new circle, stood Sarah. Her eyes were wide with fear. The shadow's voice echoed softly in the dark. Balance.